Hello, everyone. Welcome in. My name is Demetrius. I am a career guide with Career Clarity. We will be covering Mastering the Job Hunt today as our webinar on job searching and job searching strategies and tools. We will be getting started momentarily. We do have a number of signups that will be joining us shortly, so we'll give a few minutes for individuals to slowly trickle in because we have a large amount of signups today. If you would like, I recommend taking a piece of paper and a pen and taking some notes. I will be recording this once things get started, so you will be able to get a recording of this if you desire for your notes as well. I also have our cameras and audio off mainly because we will be having a Q&A session at the end, and I will be recording, so I typically don't like to show other people's faces during this recording session. So, but we will have a Q&A as well. Again, for those who are just logging on, my name is Demetrius with Mastering the Job Hunt. We will be getting started shortly. We have quite a bit of signups, so just waiting for a few people to log on, and we will jump right into it. Right. And can you all do me a favor? And if you can see my screen, can I just get a thumbs up uh, in the chat if possible? Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. It is 3 minutes past. So we will be getting started. We'll still have some people slowly trickling in, but want to be mindful of all of your time. So again, my name is Demetrius with Mastering the Job Hunt. Make sure we're recording. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so let's hop into it. So today I wanted to cover a number of parts of the job search, more specifically talking about what does it mean to have an effective job search strategy? And the reason for creating this webinar a number of months ago was really that a lot of the individuals that I'd see and speak to and work with were really just confused about just how to really construct an effective approach. They were suffering from issues around not getting interviews and things like that. So we wanted to really talk about where are the areas that we can improve, what does the overall objective view of the job search look like, and then what can we do to tweak our own job search tools and to really organize ourselves so we can have a lot more efficiency in our process, right? So a couple of things we'll talk about today is how do we do basic like market research in the job search? How do we create like a job search strategy? Here we'll use the LAMP list, which is based off the 2-hour job search method, which is a really great book if you haven't read it already. And then we'll talk about effective networking. So very basic networking, right? And some messaging so we can position ourselves well and kind of reach out to individuals in our job search. Like I said, some of the things that we wanted to address, and these are some of the things that you're currently affected by, this will be a more effective workshop for you, right? If you're applying to, 20, 30, 40, over 100 places and not getting any responses, this is kind of more a webinar for that, If you are not getting any networking going, this is also something that we want to focus on. And if you're just feeling disorganized and overwhelmed by your job search, this is also where we want to kind of focus on and expand. So again, my name is Demetrius. A little bit about me and why I specifically talk about job searching. I spent about 4 years in recruitment. I did life science recruiting and manufacturing and logistics. And for those who have never done any recruitment, that really just looks like I would interview or work with hundreds of candidates. I would work alongside different hiring managers who would tell me what they were looking for. We go over some of their desires, refining the position, things of that nature. And so I would use a number of applicant tracking systems to find the right person for these companies, right? And the reason why I think that that's important for the context of us together, right, is mainly because I was able to review thousands of resumes, was able to do interview prep and review cover letters, do references, and walk people through interviews in general, right? And then how to negotiate offers, right? Later on, I got into being an HR generalist where I was able to hire people and be on the other side of that as well. And then lastly, I specialize in a interpersonal communication format called authentic relating. So authentic relating is just a way for strangers to build rapport and connection fairly quickly, right? And the reason why I highlight that here is because one of the areas a lot of people that I work with struggle is that they focus a lot on these systems and the applying, but have a hard time actually building real connections with employers and hiring managers, right? And to be honest, they don't make it easy because of how robotic the application process is, right? But if you can effectively build a strong connection or rapport, it makes it 10 times easier, right? When you're networking in interviews to kind of land the job and really build a stronger connection. So to get started, I wanted to just go over some quick tips. One of the things I like to highlight and to discuss a little bit more is just utilizing LinkedIn effectively, right? I tell people all the time it's not ideal to start your job search when you don't have a job, right? And that does not at all mean that it's not possible or that there's uh, way more difficulty. All I'm really highlighting is the fact that if you're constantly refining your job search tools, including LinkedIn, your resume, and other things like that, it makes it way easier to be aware of opportunity to have your tools ready. And LinkedIn is one of those things, right? So LinkedIn has about 240 million users here in the United States, right? Which is a large amount of people that work here. So LinkedIn's a great tool not only to increase your opportunities, your personal visibility of your brand, and oftentimes when you have more followers, you're able to command more credibility, right? It's kind of like if I had 10 million followers, people are like, oh, this person must be good or well known at this thing, even though that may not always be the case. So for you all, one of the basic things that I want you to continuously do, especially if you work in like any online services or sales or anything like that, LinkedIn's going to be a really powerful tool for you to command authority, to build your personal brand, and to see opportunities maybe even before they're widely posted. So I tell people all the time, if you have at least 15 minutes in a week, just to add 10 people, send a very small note over, right? And just being like, hey, feel free to, hello, my name is so and so, and I want to connect with you, right? So very easy to do, and I know it can be tedious, but it pays dividends, right? When we talk about developing our brand, developing our job search. So secondly, when we talk about networking, which we'll discuss later on, a lot of people complain about not getting responses from people. And some people just don't respond. But another issue that I see commonly in the job search is that only about 50% of users check their LinkedIn in like a month time period, right? So that means the other 50% doesn't check LinkedIn that frequently at all. right? And I think a lot of us are in that group that don't use LinkedIn if we have a job or if we have stuff going on, because we use that tool for job searching, right? So when you are networking or trying to build relationships or connections, you want to be aware of how active these people are, right? So you can go on someone's LinkedIn and you can see when's the last time they commented or posted anything or updated their profile, right? And if we know that's been in the last week, we know that there's a higher chance of this individual um, you know, utilizing LinkedIn. So that's going to be a lot more helpful for you to be aware of because it makes things easier to connect, right? And you don't want to waste your messages on LinkedIn because they're not free for most of us, right? So we want to take that into consideration. So lastly, I just want to talk about creating a modern job search, right? Which we'll talk about some of the things you can do to do that. But job searching takes a lot of energy. I'm sure most of you all know, right? Writing cover letters, applications, researching companies, getting ready for interviews. There's so many things that goes into a job search, right? So for us, we want to automate and we want to outsource any of the areas we can, right? And that includes maybe having other people write your resume or different things that you don't feel that confident in. It includes using tools like email scrapers and organizational tools to help you just maximize your job search, right? We don't want a job search like we did 30 years ago, right? Because now there are thousands of tools to make things a lot smoother for you and to keep track of things, right? Especially as we move deeper and deeper into artificial intelligence. So really quick tips that we'll expand upon as we go in. So really quickly, I wanted to talk about a couple of success stories. I do that mainly because I hear a lot of not positive stories in the job market, but I want you all to know that there are jobs out there. There are a lot of opportunities, and there are people that are looking for someone like you, right, in your skill set. Really, it's just how do we connect you two together, and how do you uh, get yourself out there in a way that allows people to see you. So one of the stories is a gentleman, Jordan, who was a very high level manager in his company, worked there for 10 years, was laid off, was completely bewildered because he hadn't job searched in 10 years, was in the market for about 6 months before we had the opportunity to work together. But we were really able to mine and refine the value that he brought to organizations, add that to his resume and his other job search tools, then reapply to some of the places that he had applied to, but just had a poor resume and a poor ability to show his value. And he was able to secure a role in the following month that paid 100K more than he previously made, right? I still chat with this individual and he loves his job and is able to really utilize a lot of his skill sets, right? So it's one of the really exciting stories that we've had in the last few months or so. Reese and Melissa both were able to get a higher counteroffer on their original job offers. A lot of people don't have the negotiating power or they negotiate poorly, right? So one of the things that we want to really focus on is again demonstrating value, doing market research to understand how much you are worth on the open market and what you bring to an organization. So we're able to get a 17%, 30% salary increase on the initial salary offer, which is really incredible, right? Oh, good. So yeah, those are some of the basic stories that we have that are really helpful, just to show that the market's filled with opportunity, right? So I never want you all to lose hope or lose momentum. We really want to keep going because there's a lot of opportunities for you specifically. So with that being said, I want to start to dive in deeper into the job search process, right? So before we talk about job search strategy specifically, we want to talk about what does the whole job search look like? And this for me is kind of what I look at when we kind of break down where people are in their job search. So there are, for me, about 5 sessions or sections we want to focus on. One being career clarity, preparation, research, outreach, and feedback. In this hour, we don't have time to cover all of these areas in depthly, and it would honestly probably overload your mind, right? So I really want you to leave with very practical advice today. But we will talk briefly about career clarity and preparation, just so that you have the proper things necessary to conduct your job search effectively. So one, I wanted to talk about career clarity. So the reason why our organization is named Career Clarity and why this is the first step is because really in this step, we are answering the questions that you would get back when you were in school or elementary or even college, right? It's like, well, what do you want to do or who do you want to be, right? And even deeper here in this section, we ask, what lifestyle do I want, right? We start to refine, how much money do I need to live this lifestyle, right? What kind of people do I want to work with? What kind of work is meaningful to me, right? If that's something that's important to me. And how do I go about creating a roadmap to getting to that place, right? And so one of the things we want to start with is self-assessment, right? It's one of the more nebulous or more difficult stages, right? And I see many people in college and a lot of the people that I've worked with, they want to skip self-assessment and they want to dive deeply into their job search without having a really good understanding of what they're really looking for or what they're good at or what they don't like, right? Because a lot of us were in a position to where we need money. And so we rush into opportunities without sometimes answering these questions that will have a long-standing effect on our life, right? So some of the self-assessments that I really enjoy, there's like Strength Finder is a basic one. Myers-Briggs is a very basic personality test. There are more career-specific ones as well that kind of tell you what industries you may be a better fit in, what kind of people you work well with, what's your communication style, what's your conflict management style, right? So I tell people to take 3 to 5 of these tests, and they're not going to tell you perfectly who you are, but you will start to get patterns of how you think and what kind of profile you are, right? And the importance of having this is that it makes it very clear what opportunities you'd probably be more successful in, right? And ones that you may have a more difficult time or places you don't want to be, right? Truly believe most people can be successful anywhere, um, but you can move much faster and get promoted quickly if you are using your strengths in the right environment with the right people at the right time, right? So that's why understanding ourselves, how we work, can really propel our career in the right direction. Next, we want to talk a little bit about defining career goals. So what I mentioned earlier when we talk about what kind of lifestyle do we want the basic things like what are our logistics? How much money do we want to make? What location do we want to stay in? Do we want to stay where we are now? Do we want to travel? Do we want to work remote or hybrid, right? Do you want to be a CEO or do you want to sit on the beach most of the day, right? Do you want to spend most of your time with your family or do you want to build a very large organization that expands the world? So these goals, right? They're not always 100% of what our life's going to look like, but they create a really good outline that allows us to say, yes, this brings me closer to this, or it brings me further away from this, right? I'm sure many of you know that your career path is going to look 100 different ways with a lot of twists and turns, but it's really good to define your goals for yourself and what that looks like. And then next, at this phase of career clarity, we really start to look at what's out there. So we have a term called window shopping here, right? Where it's like I don't want to buy something, but I'll go to a store and I'll look. I'll look at different clothes or different items and we window shop, right? So for you, you want to take the time to window shop early. And that includes several different things, right? That's researching positions online, that's talking to those people that are already in those kind of positions, right? Which we'll talk about a little bit later in informational interviews. Yeah, and just getting a general idea of what it's like to be in this position and how that affects your life, right? So it's a little bit about career clarity, especially people who are switching industries, those who are getting out of school, or those who just don't feel like they're in the right place, right? It's really good to reflect on these things and to take a mental inventory if you're in the right place, doing the right thing at the right time, because you can maybe excel somewhere else, right? So secondly, when we talk about preparing for our job search, and before we get into job search strategy, we really want to look at Do we have the proper tools? Are our tools the sharp enough to kind of get the job done, right? So when we look at the things we need for a job search, we're really looking at updated resume, right? A resume is just a pretty basic thing that most people require, and I'm sure everyone on the call here has a resume, right? And so while we say updated, we just want to make sure that it reflects our skills, reflects what we're looking for. It has at least 7 to 10 years of our previous job experience if we have 7 to 10 years of job experience, and then it has our education, right? That's our basic resume. There are going to be things that we can do to make it exceptional or over the top or even more flashy, but at the baseline, it should really have this information to conduct a job search. Next, our LinkedIn profile is going to be like a digital version of our resume. It's going to be able to talk about where we've worked, what projects we've done, what achievements we've had. Um, and one of the tips I'd say is get a really good LinkedIn photo, because a lot of people actually they look at your LinkedIn photo first. There's a lot of research that shows that that's one of the number one things people look at first. I don't know why, but it's good to have a photo that just presents yourself well, clearly, and kind of gives off an air of professionalism and who you are as a person, right? Next, we have 3 to 5 references. So for those who don't know, something that we require a lot when we're recruiting and when you're talking to hiring managers is that they want to know that there are other people that can speak to who you are as a person in your work, right? And usually these references are people that you've previously worked under, right? So a previous manager, a supervisor, or someone in a higher role than you. And for those who've never had a job on the call or haven't been into the corporate world, you'll look at professors, people that you volunteered under, and individuals like that, like coaches that can speak to you or vouch for your work, right? So these are going to be individuals that will be your references. They usually give them a call, so you just want to get their email, their phone number, their title, and your relationship with them is going to be our references. You can get them later on in their job search, but I don't want you all to scramble to search for these things later on because it's not going to be helpful for you. It's going to cause you a lot more stress. So make sure you choose good references. Obviously, if these people dislike you strongly, or if you burned a bridge with them, you don't necessarily want those specifically to be the people they call, just for your own sake, right? So be mindful that let those people know that they'll be reaching out to them about new opportunities, just so that they're prepared, right? Next, we want to talk about calculating runway. So what I mean by calculating runway is one of the things that I've seen time and time again with people who are job searching is that by the time that me and them talk, they are now kind of desperately searching for a job, right? And what I mean by that is that they may have started to exhaust their reserves as far as their money's running out, or if they have unemployment or what have you, and they now are just looking for any kind of job, right? So for you, we don't want you to be in a position where you have to take an opportunity that you don't like and that you're locked into, right? Just for the sake of money or whatever, right? So for you, we want to create a pretty concise timeline of, okay, I'm looking for this ideal position and I have this amount of time before I start to um, maybe expand my job search. So we'll say after 2 months, I maybe be open to these industries or these titles adjacent to this role, right? And after 6 months, maybe I need to open up a little bit more, or maybe I need to get a part-time job or what we call a transitional job, which is one that's not our ideal job, but it allows us to get more runway and maybe even refine certain skills, right? That will help us in our greater job search. So calculating your runway is important because the last thing I want you all to do is to be between a rock and a hard place and have to do something you don't want or like. That really just puts a wrench in your career search. So lastly, your cover letter. Most companies request them. You want to have what I call a master cover letter and a master resume, right? Which these are just outline documents that you can customize for each job, which we'll talk about the importance of customization. But with your resume and your cover letter, I want you all to spend the least amount of time possible on these things. So there are a lot of tools that can expand or accelerate your resume creation and cover letter writing, because we don't want you spending 5 hours or 6 hours a week customizing. I've had people spend weeks writing one resume, and that's just not helpful. It's not what we want to do, spend our energy on, right? So make sure you just create a master type of those and just change it when you come up with that. So again, I do some career guidance. I do offer it to about 5 people on these calls for a, let's say, one-on-one conversation to kind of go over what's happening in your job search, your career goals, and any next steps that would be helpful. It's pretty concise. A lot of people walk away having a little bit more clarity, which I enjoy having these conversations. So for those who are interested or looking for more personalized support, obviously past this call, that's something that I offer to individuals. So jumping into market research. So what we want to do and what we want to know is what's happening in our job search, what's happening in the industry that we work in, right? So in the market research phase, we're asking questions of who's hiring, who's not hiring, what companies have new products coming out, which ones have new government contracts, right? Which ones are combining or what have you, right? So even if we know 5% more than the next person in our field, that gives us a competitive edge and allows us to speak from a place of authority when we talk about our positions and roles, right? A lot of individuals that I've spoken to know very little about their industry outside of their previous company or their current company. And for you all, I want you all to be conveyed as the top of the top of your market, right? So I want you to know the technology, the companies, the major players, right? So that you can command more authority, and with that, you command more money and respect, right? So we'll talk a little bit about what does that mean, right? So we want to make sure that we're being aware of industry trends, some of the things that I talked about with technology, how artificial intelligence is affecting your work, right? How you know financial things are happening in these sectors, right? Are they growing? Are they shrinking? Are they moving in different directions? What companies are currently leading the charge in these different fields as well, right? So there's a lot of questions you can ask and a lot of answers to be found about your industry, your specific position, right? What does the future of your role look like, and what things are going to be shifting as you move forward, right? So a couple of tools that I really enjoy is like LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Uh, excuse me, it gives you talent trends, hiring patterns, employee retention, and turnover rate. So the reason why I mentioned these things, right? It tells you what companies that certain organizations hire from, right? So it'd be like Amazon, for example, hires a majority of people from these colleges, or they take engineers from these companies, right? And they'll tell you the average person that works there for about maybe 2.5 years, right? Or less time than that, right? So it gives you really good information about trends in these organizations that allows you to present yourself well and to understand kind of what to look for and how to speak in interviews. So LinkedIn does not give me money. So this is an offer that they have that is for their Sales Navigator tool. It's $100 for 2 months, which can be a lot. But if you have 8 weeks of effective opportunity to uh, learn more about companies, to have more messages, and it allows you to reach out and find very specific, what we call decision makers in organizations. So people that have the ability to affect your job search or to say yes or no to you being employed. I think $100 is well worth it if it gets you in front of these people, gets you the information you need to better position yourself, right? Next, we have PayScale, which is a free tool. It does salary insight, right? So I do a lot of conversations about money, and uh, very often I have people that come to me and they're like, I'm like, how much do you want to get paid? And they're like, well, in my city or my country, this is like how much you need to survive, right? And so that's the minimum that I want. So that's not the question that I'm asking, right? Because what the minimum that you need to survive and what companies are paying for your position are two completely different things, right? I know a lot of jobs, a significant amount of them, that pay below the line of cost of living, right? So for you, that's not what we want to base our salary on. We want to base it on the market, what someone would go for with your skill set or adjacent to your skill set, with your experience and with your potentiality, right? So with that, we want to be able to come confidently to speak to these people about how much we want, why we deserve this, and these are your reference points to that. So PayScale is one of those tools that allows you to do that. Glassdoor is a company review website that also gives salary insight. Can talk a little bit about the interview experiences. Um, and rates companies on a scale to 1 to 5. So I know it's here in the US and I believe Canada and other countries as well. I know we have a number of international callers here, so there may be similar tools to Glassdoor if this isn't available where you are, but allows us to really just see the how people describe the leadership, how they describe the culture, how much people are getting paid for certain positions. So this is self-reported data, so you have to be mindful that it may not always be not well accurate, but also sometimes when someone gives a company a negative review, it's because they had a personally bad experience, right? But that doesn't mean the company is bad. So you want to be mindful to let's look at this information, but not 100% inform all your decisions off of that. But really great tools, right? If we're able to use all these tools and a multitude of other ones, we can really get a good idea what's happening in our industry and with our position, right? So I want to talk really quickly about size of organizations and how that affects our job search. So I've recruited for a number of startups. I've recruited for some larger companies as well as a recruiter. And I really wanted you all to be aware of process, right? An interview and job search process. So when we look at smaller companies, they typically have a faster process. And what I mean by that is that instead of having 7 interviews that span over a course of months, you may have 3 interviews in a course of 2 weeks, and you're hired after 2 weeks or even less, depending on how much they like you, right? So organizations between 1 and 100 people, there's a little bit more fluidity and speed about which people are getting hired typically, right? Because there's a higher chance that you're going to be in conversation with the CEO or someone similar to that, right? So it gives you a really good opportunity to search for certain companies of that size if you're looking to move quickly. And also, they have different benefits when you're able to grow faster in startups and other companies like that because of how fast some of them are growing. Whereas at the large corporation or enterprise size, Amazon, Google's, things like that, they have a very rigid system of how they interview, right? So maybe they'll do panel interviews, HR recruiter interviews, your hiring manager. Sometimes a lot of these companies give skills tests or personality tests, right? So those are all good, and I really respect those processes. But you need to know that it's going to elongate your job search. So you have to be prepared for that when you're talking to certain organizations and to inquire what the interview process looks like early on so that you can prepare yourself if you need to pivot or if you need to wait and move things around so that you can wait for that opportunity, right? So I just wanted you all to keep that in the back of your head because it is different for each company, how long the interview process is and what it looks like. So you want to be prepared for all those things. So I wanted to jump into the LAMP list, right? And the LAMP list is an acronym which we'll go over. But really, before I dive into it, I want to tell you why I think that having a LAMP list is important. So I think most strategies I agree with are good, right? I think a strategy is better than having no strategy. So excuse me, I will not say that the lamp list is a perfect job search strategy, but what I will say is that it's very easy to implement, less than an hour. And really, our goal is to become organized, to be efficient, and to be able to keep track of everything that we're doing. Because I see that inefficiency really kills a lot of people's job search, right? So for you all, we want to make sure that you are organized, focused, efficient, and can easily track what you're doing because it's going to make you way more effective in that way. So our LAMP list acronym stands for list, creating a list of employers, 2, advocacy, M for motivation or how excited we are to work there, and P for posting, right? So our LAMP list is a living document, is one that I say if you're going to be using it, use it daily. There's no point of having a strategy if you don't use it. You might as well not start on it, right? But if you use it effectively, it'll help you to guide your job search and to show you what you need to do on a daily basis. So first we start with our employer list, right? So our employer list is a list of 30 to 40, maybe even 50 companies that align with our goals, aligns with our logistical needs, and they're healthy hiring and align with our values, right? So if you are environmentalist, you may not want to work for an oil company, right? If you're a health expert, you may not want to be like the senior marketing person for McDonald's, right? If you have any thoughts about that, right? So we want to make sure that these companies align with your values as well. So there's no point of building lists off anything other than that, right? So the reason I get so many questions, people are like, why would I build a list when there are new jobs coming up all the time and I can just apply for them in that way, right? And that's a great question. But a lot of the times, these same individuals who ask that question have already applied to 60, 70, 80, 100 plus jobs, and they're not getting any responses, right? So the reason why I highlight the importance of creating an employer list is because what it does is it gives us a lot more control over our networking process, right? If you see a lot of statistics, most people get into jobs through connections, through referrals, and through being able to communicate with people, right? So for you, it's really hard to keep track of that outreach and that networking and that connection if you have hundreds of jobs out there and you're not sure what's happening or what's going on. So having a targeted list allows you to really effectively follow a methodology of outreach and follow-up, which are bound to have more results versus what we call the spray and pray method, where you just apply to anything that you see and then you wait for a response, right? So one, that's a reactive way of job searching. So we have proactive and reactive. It puts the ball in someone else's court, whereas we want you to consistently be in control of outreach and follow up, and it empowers you in your job search and allows you to take more control, right? So that's the reason why we focus on employer lists. I don't want to deter you from continuing to apply to other places. I still think you should, but just add them onto your list and then follow your original list as well. So I want to discuss there's a concept that in job searching and recruiting that people talk about. It's the hidden job market, right? And it's not hidden, right? It's not like in a secret place per se, right? It just means that a lot of jobs that people get or roles that are granted are done through methodology of either networking or their internal hires or shifts, or for some high level roles, they may hire a specialized recruiter or headhunter to seek these individuals, right? So I don't necessarily know if the number is 70% of jobs are not publicly posted, but I know it's probably more than a little, right? So the importance in what I'm trying to convey here is that before a job is made public, you want to make sure that you are also reaching out and connecting with individuals so that you can try to get into opportunities before they're made public, right? So looking and talking to your favorite companies and people in your network, they'll let you know of upcoming opportunities and things that are being formulated, right? So it's a great way to beat the crowd and not have to compete with all these other people if you're able to be referred in or have the conversations early, right? So it's a little bit about the hidden job market, right? I've had 37 jobs in my career. So with that, I've been hired on Craigslist, LinkedIn, Indeed. I've also been referred into companies. I've been, yeah, and transferred internally. So every method you can be hired, I've been hired. So I know that you can be hired publicly or through Indeed or LinkedIn. But it's a little bit harder when you don't have any connection to those people in the organization. So with that being said, when we talk about connection and organization, we talk about advocacy, right? So the lamp list is really built off advocates. So one of the powers of having connections is that they put in a good word for you. That they're able to refer you. They're able to get your resume in front of the right people faster than the traditional process, right? So with having advocates, we want to in our job search even prioritize jobs that have advocates already in them, right? Because it already increases our chances of getting into specific roles. So for you all, we want to look at what we already have as an existing network, right? So many of you all have friends, you have family members, and people that care about you. I hope, right? And these individuals, what they do for you, right, is that they can connect you with other people. Everyone has their own private network of hundreds or even thousands of people, right? So you want to start with people that care about you the most, so family, friends, right? And then from there, expand into your greater network, right? Which are going to be acquaintances. So people that you may have gone to school with, people that you're friends with on Instagram or LinkedIn. Even though you don't talk to them every day, they still know you or they can advocate for you in some way. And then we start to look at our first secondary connections on LinkedIn as well, right? Which are still kind of loose acquaintances, but they're leaning more towards helping us than not, right? After that, we start to reach out to people, what we call cold outreach, to build um, advocates, right? So you'll reach out to people on LinkedIn, excuse me, through direct email or at networking events, right? Are ways that we'll start to create advocates if we don't have that many in a certain area, right? So it's a little bit about advocacy, and the importance of that is huge, right? From having someone that is willing to assist you versus not. So a couple ways to network beyond LinkedIn, right? Your alumni network is a great way to link to have a higher response rate or have people follow up with you because you have something in common. Usually, networking is a lot easier if you can find commonality, either that's some an organization you're a part of or group that you've been a part of previously, right? So if you've gone to college or university, there are really helpful tools to connect you with your alumni database. Um, Reaching out to those people who may be in the field you're interested in or in your title or job makes it slightly easier, right? In-person events like meetups or what have you, it's a really great way to present who you are as a person. There are going to be some niche events. So some of doctors have very specific doctor events. Some digital marketers have their kind of events. But in general, you can just kind of go out and meet people as well, and they may connect you to someone else that they know, right? So also good practice to uh, talk about your value and what you do, right? So next we talk about referral from family, friends, and coworkers, what I mentioned previously, because you're already trusted, right? And then lastly, we have industry communities, Slacks, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, direct email messaging, and then just basically applying and following up, right? So these are some of the methodologies we use just to kind of get our network expanding and being able to present ourselves out there. So I wanted to talk briefly about a very simplistic message, right? So this message here, right? I hope this message finds you well. I'm currently exploring opportunities in blank field and came across your profile. I admire your work at Blank Company and would love to learn more about your experiences and insights. I would be open to a brief chat, and I appreciate any advice you can share. And I'm happy to work around your schedule. Thanks for considering my request, right? So this message, maybe even a year or two ago, was suffice, right? I'm just kind of getting communication on. But now even LinkedIn's being flooded with different people asking you to buy stuff and strangers reaching out. So even a message like this isn't as effective as it used to be, right? So one of the things we want to do to tweak a message similar to this is one, find commonality early on, right? So in the first sentence, I would say, hey, I saw that we went to the same school or that we're connected to the same person or that, we've been a part of the same volunteer organization, right? So even that additional layer of finding commonality early on can build um, my willingness to respond to you, right? Versus me not knowing you at all, right? Secondly, in this message, it says, "Hey, I admire your work," but even more specifically, on their LinkedIn, being able to look and see, "Hey, I saw that you completed this project at this organization, right? Or I saw that you were able to get these results at your company. I was genuinely curious how you did that, or would you be open to speaking, right?" So even more specific about what they've done and what they've been able to accomplish is helpful there. So a very short message, 100 words or less. No one wants to read a paragraph from you. They have a ton of stuff to do. You have a ton of stuff to do. So make your messages short and concise. We want to make sure there are no grammatical errors. There should not be any errors in your grammar. We have tools like ChatGPT, Grammarly, Cloud AI, and all these tools that can write messages or help you write messages. Early on, when you're sending these introductory messages, do not mention a specific job. It can cause pressure and anxiety for those people. They already assume you're looking for a job or connection, right? But you don't need to like make it so that they need to help you, right? You're just opening yourself up for assistance. So keep these messages focused on connection because we want to make sure that we are job searching now, but we are opening ourselves up to a lifetime of connections and a powerful network, right? So in the future, when you are job searching, you want to have such a strong network that you can easily tap into these things and that it makes your process faster and efficient, right? So it's a little bit about our advocacy messaging there. So briefly, I want to talk about informational interviewing. So for those who have never heard of informational interviewing, it's really a process that we get together with someone in our industry, in our ideal position, and we set a 15 to 30-minute conversation aside to talk about some of these things here, right? How do you get into this industry? What are the challenges and rewards of being here? Where would you network to get better connections in this area or in this industry, right? And then what educational tools would you recommend, right? And then in general, these informational interviews are a good way for you to build advocacy and build connection or to have someone root for you in your job search, right? So even if they don't necessarily refer you in, you can keep them up to date as you apply to their company or in their industry. And they're more in line to kind of want to support you and see you succeed, right? So informational interviews can be a powerful tool, right? You have to set these up very sparingly, right? And carefully, because you don't want to waste people's time and people are constantly bombarded, right? So the way that you present these has to be done well. It can be very invaluable. You can learn a lot. It can really put you in a position of connecting deeply with people. So lastly, on our lamp list, we talk about motivation and posting, right? So motivation, what I said earlier is that our lamp list is a living document, right? So that just means that we're constantly changing it, adding to it, and refining it based on what we learn about companies, what we learn about the market, what we learn about ourselves, and culture, leadership, and things of that nature, right? So you may be excited about a role, but find out that the manager sucks and you don't want to work there. So it went from a 4 to like a 2 or a 1 rate on your motivation scale, or vice versa. You maybe didn't know much about a company, interviewed with them. They had great culture. They had like snacks in the office, and you could bring your dog to work. And you're like, hey, that's really exciting. And I will change my number from like a 3 to a 5, right? And the reason we want motivation is because we want to, one, keep inventory of roles that excite us and what aspects of that happens. But two, we want to focus more on our job search in those spaces, especially when we're talking about networking and our energy focused in that area to be targeted towards the places we want to work the most, right? And then lastly, posting is just keeping track of your job postings. A lot of people, when I ask them where do you keep all your information, they'll say, "Oh, I have half my job applications come through LinkedIn on my email. Indeed sends me other emails here, or I can go on the page and check." But there's all their information is completely scattered, right? And you all would not want to leave your paperwork all over your office or in your house, especially if it's important to you. So we want to make sure that we can put it in one place, prioritize it, and so we have easy access to check to see what's the status of the role, if it's still open, when do we need to follow up, or do we need to follow up again? So things like that can be helpful when we have our postings all in one place. So our LAMP list is just our list, advocacy, motivation, posting. I customize LAMP lists for individuals, so it includes decision makers, the dates you applied, how you applied, and notes and things like that. So those are some of the things that I give out, and some of our tools there. So following up, right? So we talk about what does it mean to follow up. I talk to a lot of people. I'm like, hey, so when's the last time you followed up with the company after you applied or after you even sent your original message, right? Excuse me. And a lot of individuals, they say, oh, well, after I applied, I didn't follow up, right? I've just been waiting to hear back from them, right? Or I sent one message to this person on LinkedIn and they didn't respond, so I haven't responded again, right? So follow up, right, really increases our response rate up to 20 to like, I don't know, 40%. Those are made up numbers, but realistically, it increases your chances of people responding to you significantly, right? Versus not. It shows not only persistence, it shows proactivity, and it allows you personally to feel like you are in control versus sitting on the sideline waiting for someone to get back to you, which sometimes they never even tell you that you didn't get the job, right? So following up, make sure that you create a system around it, that you know have messages prepared, because you can refine that process as much as possible, make it easier in your job search. So lastly, general tips, right? Like I said, there's no point of having a job search strategy if you don't use it, right? So make sure that you follow your own strategy. Create times in your week to check your list, to update it, to take out stuff that no longer applies or roles that are rejected or canceled so that your list is clean, it's easy to follow, you know where to target every time you open up your computer. Allocate 10 to 25 or even 30 hours for your job search, right? A week, right? Depending on your sense of urgency. If you really need a job, you'll probably want to spend more time, right? Um, do not spend every waking moment job searching. It's the fastest way to burn you out. It's a really quick way for you to get negative or not feel good about your process. So we want to make sure that you have energy. So if you are unemployed or have some free time, make sure you're doing things that refill your energy, right? So your hobbies, spending time with the people that you like and care about, because all that positive energy goes back into your job search. And you want to make sure you're not feeling desperate or despair or depressed about your job search, right? Because that really comes across in how you demonstrate your value, how you go through interviews, and how you network, right? So just be mindful to have very strategic times of job search and times that you don't do that, right? And then lastly, make sure that we tailor our resume, right? Tailor our cover letters as well. The difference between you and the 200 people that apply is how well you fit a role, how well you talk about your skills. And so we want to make sure that we're taking time to do that. So with our remaining time, I wanted to open up the floor to a number of questions here. Um, so you should be able to write in your questions, which I'll be fielding questions for a moment until our time is up here. I'd love to answer some of the questions you may have. Feel free to put them in the chat and I will answer them to the best of my ability with my knowledge here. So. Mhm. So here. Do we have any questions? Uh, Abhay has a question, which is great. How do you get the recording? I'll send a message to you all after our call, which you can respond to. I'll get a recording over to you. There, I have to upload it, and so it takes just some time. Secondly, I enjoy creating resumes on Canva. Um, there's a bit of a learning curve up front, but I think it's very customizable. They have resume templates. You can also use Google Forms or Google templates. And Word also has resume templates. I don't like them as much, but they do offer those as well. So really great tool to use. You can make your resume really gorgeous, pretty, and see what other people are doing as well. So very helpful for you in that regard. So Sydney has a great question. What's the best method of expanding your network if you've never worked in the industry before, right? So a couple of things, right? LinkedIn will be a great tool. Joining groups related to those fields is going to be nice for you as well. Um, a lot of the times they network, people have niche networking sessions, so that will be helpful for you. If you don't know where those are, reaching out to someone that does or who already works in that field is going to be good for you to see like, hey, where do you all connect? Is there a good place for me to follow updates or information here, right? So Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, reaching out to people directly on LinkedIn that have those titles. Typically about 1 in 7, 1 in 10 people respond back to you. So do not be deterred if people don't respond back. They're busy. Sometimes they're never on LinkedIn, but it's a good step. Once you start to meet 1 or 2 people, you'll start to get momentum about how to expand in that industry and kind of get things going there. But I need to know your industry a little bit more to speak a little bit more closely about that. Melissa, should you be actively applying to jobs even after you land an interview with a company? 150%, yes. You always want to make sure that until you've signed an offer letter, you want to continuously apply. I tell a lot of the clients that I work with after they've received interviews that that is actually the best time for you to continue to apply to places because emotionally you feel good and you're in a space and there's almost like a sense of background safety, right? So until you've secured your role, you want to continue to apply to jobs and to interview with other places. Not only does it give you more negotiating power, you get to see the intricacies of the process of companies and allows you to just practice on a higher level, right? So never put all your all your eggs in one basket. All right, because I've seen it happen time and time again where we just don't get the role. It's happened to me. It's happened to a lot of other people. So continue to apply and use the positive momentum that you create. Okay, currently I'm in Germany. How should I approach resume building based on the region? Which points should be considered researching about this? So that's a great question. I've written and overviewed a number of German resumes. They do have a different format than the US, right? The part of that there is really just you use ChatGPT, other tools which will help you talk a little bit more about the formatting there. You can go online and there'll be websites to talk about the German resumes and how they look. And they have some websites that say, hey, these resumes got me the job, right? So there's going to be some for Germany as well. So those are great tools to be like, oh, this is kind of how this person structured the resume. Sometimes it includes hobbies. Like the US doesn't include a lot of hobbies or other kind of personal things like that. And I've seen other countries that do have that. Length is different, right? So maybe 3 to 5 pages versus here in the US, we'll do 1 to 2. I think Canada's like that as well. So yeah, just using those tools can be helpful just for you to get a good look. Bashara asks, how exactly the cover letter will help me? So that's a great question, right? Um, I personally do not like cover letters because I think they're tedious. If I apply to 100 places and I have to write 100 pages, it's a lot of work. No one wants to do that. What it does for companies and what it does for you, right, and why they can be beneficial is because your resume is your history of everything you've done, your education, your experience, what you want to do. Your cover letter is a customized story of why you are good for this role and what you bring to the table for this specific position. It's very, very good opportunity for you to be like, with all my previous experience, the reason why I'd be a good senior manager here is that I've been able to get these results and I can bring these results to this specific aspect of your company. So cover letters really help you to really not only talk about your skills, but why your skills are powerful and are can get results in this company, right? So I think that that's really helpful for you. I would not write those from scratch. Definitely use ChatGPT or whatever to customize them. Do not rely solely on ChatGPT. You want to make it your own voice. Lots of people can tell if it sounds too robotic or too out of touch. So you want to make sure that you may use ChatGPT as an outline, but not as your whole thing, right? So Esperance, beautiful name by the way, has a question. This will probably be the last question. Or let me see, is there a question? I had my education and 1 year experience working outside the U.S., Canada. How do I approach job search here in the same field? Agricultural engineering. I have an English level of 8. I'm not really sure how good an English level of 8 is. I usually do the A through C system. But for you, right? So if we're talking about working, I do not specialize in moving to other countries and getting jobs, mainly because there's a lot of legality around visas, right? But what I'll tell you about kind of planting or getting into specific jobs and fields is relatively the same, right? So we need market research, right? We need to understand what companies are hiring, where is their turnover, right? Where can we get our foot in the door? So certain companies need workers more than other ones, right? Companies with higher turnover need workers more than other ones. Companies that are in locations that don't have a lot of professionals there, right? So in the US, if I'm in the middle of like Kansas or something like that, right? I may not have the same amount of pool of people as I do in San Francisco or Florida or New York, right? So you also want to target places that can utilize your skill set. So for someone like you want to talk to people already in that field in your area, ideally also with a similar experience of traveling from somewhere else. So with that being said, you want to find either alumni because they're easier and they're more likely to respond, or someone that just matches your cultural background, religious background, or maybe any of the other personality traits you have that you can share in common because it's just more likely that person will answer. But usually 1 in 10, 1 out of 7 people will reach out to you. So feel free to just reach out to people and they'll be willing to help you. So hopefully that gives you some guidance there. It's a very good question. There's a lot to unpack in how we do that process there. So we are 2 minutes past. I try to be very respectful of your time, and it is Sunday, so I know people have things to do. This is Mastering the Job Hunt. Hopefully you found this somewhat insightful for your personal job search. I want you all to not be deterred. There are a lot of opportunities here in the United States, around the world, right? I've never in my life seen someone unemployed their whole life, right? So your job will come very sooner than later, right? So for you, I really want you to remember to be proactive in your job search and not reactive. Take as much control as you can. You'll feel more confident. Practice your interview skills, practice your value statement so that when your opportunity comes to network and to speak in front of people, that you really are able to show them what value you bring, right? So I will send up a follow-up email. I'll give them opportunity for some people to sign up for my one-on-ones. I have about 5 slots open in my week. I can maybe help with that there. I will also send out a recording. So with that being said, I wish you all the best of luck with your job search. Look out for future webinars that are going to be on other subjects. And I appreciate you all for spending your time with me today and hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care. Thanks, Helen. Thanks, Lance. Take care.